We're going to move on, though, into our last topic. And, Brandon, I'm going to start out nice and simple. I'm looking at CBS.com right now, and they have an article where the headline reads, Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan for the Rams is reportedly a very real possibility. We're going to do what we did a few weeks ago when we talked about Lane Kiffin. I am putting you in the mind of Jim Harbaugh. Put your khakis on, put your Sharpie on, put your big blue hat on with the yellow M. Jim Harbaugh, are you leaving Michigan for the Rams?
I'm thinking about it. And the reason I'm thinking about it is because in San Francisco, you were railroaded. That was bad. You were not getting along with ownership. It was not going well. They didn't want you anymore, and they ultimately sent you on your way. You go to Michigan, and you turn around a program that was in despair. I turned around a program in despair because I'm Jim Harbaugh.
10-3 his first year.
I wore my khakis, and that's all I needed to do to make things better. He brought a culture that changed Michigan for years to come. Mm-hmm. Jim Harbaugh. He has put in place a system. He has put in place recruits. He has put in place a culture that it would be very hard to break if you bring in somebody new. They'd have to be the right fit, but they could do it. I as Jim Harbaugh, look at the Rams and go, a team in disarray, a team with fans yearning for success again, and a team in a market that has endless possibilities.
Who has talent on that team.
And there is talent on that team, more so on the defensive side, so much to work with on the offensive side. And how much did you enjoy working with Wilton Speight? You have an opportunity to work with Jared Goff and help him to become a legit NFL quarterback. That's an enticing position. That's a position that if they come knocking on your door, you take them inside to talk to them, to say, all right, what is the proposal? What are we offering? What are we talking here? I'm going to have to think it over, but I will think it over. That's where I am if I'm Jim Harbaugh right now, because guess what? You still have things to do at Michigan. You want to make the playoffs.
Not just make the playoffs. I think they could. Next year's Michigan team could be winning it all.
But what I'm saying, you haven't made the playoffs yet.
You got to make it to win.
You've had 2 years. You haven't made the playoffs. 2 years where you're very close. 2 years where, guess what? People aren't just talking Ohio State anymore. They're talking Ohio State, Michigan. Or some would say Michigan, Ohio State.
And basically you were one questionable call away from being in the playoff this year.
Absolutely. So, in all honesty, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, as enticing as that Rams job is, for the reasons I mentioned, there is still work to be done at Michigan. And I think if I leave, it's a little premature, and I wouldn't feel like I got everything accomplished that I could have.
I'm going to make my answer very simple. No, I don't even think about it. And the reason why I don't think about it is I'm going to give you a 2-word phrase from a 30 for 30 that I watched this past weekend that was phenomenal, by the way. If you haven't watched it, watch it. In Catholics versus Convicts. Yeah. That phrase is, and it was on that T-shirt, unfinished business. There is unfinished business at Michigan. And the way I see it, if you leave to go to the Rams, that's basically you not just telling those players, but telling everyone, yeah, I don't finish what I start. I don't care if I finish what I start. I don't care about winning a championship. You are so close to winning a championship. And it's not like this Michigan team is going to lose a bunch of guys and it's going to be like where are you going to be next year? No, this is a team we're already talking about is going to compete for their division, going to compete for their conference, and going to compete for a national championship next year. I am also going to bring up a point, and this was one from, because I know if I don't bring it up, he is going to get mad at me, and that is Mike Rankin of our own Behind the Pen. He said to me before the podcast, as I told him we were going to talk about this, he made his point simple. And I'm going to throw it out to you to see what you think. Like you mentioned, if I think about it, I bring them in, what's the offer? Rankin says, you don't take an interview unless you're serious about leaving. Because once you take an interview or talk to the Rams, your fellow coaches in the Big Ten are going to those recruits going, you want to play for that guy? He's thinking about leaving. He don't care about you. Now me, I'm going to stay. I'm a guy who cares about you. I kind of agree with him. Unless you are a 80% chance that you're going to take that Rams job, I wouldn't even take the interview because anything that can hurt you in recruiting can hurt you in recruiting. And that's huge, especially when you're going up against Urban Meyer, where most of the recruits are either choosing Michigan or Ohio State.
I don't think it's bad. And I'll tell you why I don't think it's bad. Because if you take the interview with the Rams and you don't end up taking it, you're staying in Michigan. You're telling the guys, guess what? I took the position because I took the interview because you want to know why? I wanted to see what they had. I wanted to see, was there any reason for me to leave Michigan? And guess what? There is no reason for me to leave Michigan right now. You want to know why? Because I have unfinished business here, a word that you use, a term that you used earlier.
Fits it perfectly.
And he says to the guys, I'm committed to you. Are you committed to me in winning a national championship? Because that's why I'm still here. Because we haven't done that yet. And if he, on the other side, takes the interview, is wowed, and says, all right, that's enough. I want to come and coach the Los Angeles Rams. Then guess what? He's the coach of the Los Angeles Rams, and he's not turning around.
The way I'm looking at it is kids are finicky these days. And when I say that is kids, what has recruiting turned into? They like to be wowed. They like to be wooed. They like to be swept off their feet. If a high school kid gets one sense that you're not 110% committed, they're not going to commit to you. That's how I see it. And to me, it's fine and great. Now I get personal situations. Like if Jim Harbaugh sits down and says, I've got to take this interview, that's fine with me. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying beware, because all the other coaches in college football who are fighting for these top recruits with you are going to try to spin it as a negative. And you shake your head, but they will do that. Coaches
no, but remember this. This just isn't a normal head coach. This is Jim Harbaugh. You can put things aside to go and play for Jim Harbaugh. Well, if someone said, well, our coach, he went off and he had an interview, with the Los Angeles Rams, so we don't know if he's going to stay or not. So I don't know if I want to go and play for him. Oh, who's your coach? Jim Harbaugh. Oh, you're going to play for him. It's Jim Harbaugh. It's not Charlie Strong. There's a difference. There's a difference in caliber of coach.
Most of the players most of the players Michigan are trying to fight for, it's not a comparison of Jim Harbaugh to Charlie Strong. It's, you don't want to play for Jim Harbaugh? You can play for Urban Meyer. You can play for Nick Saban.
I'm not worried. It's
one of those things. Am I saying a bunch of recruits are going to mass exodus if he has an interview? But I can see where Mike's coming from, where coaches will use anything to try to get a recruit to come to them over you. And that's why I say if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I don't take an interview with the Rams unless I am 80% positive that I want the job.
Only 80, huh?
Only 80. So if it's 80%, go take the interview. But then beware that people are going to try to use it against you in the recruiting game. The players who are already there, I have no qualms that they've got Jim Harbaugh's back. They will understand. It's the recruits coming in, the high school kids that have not given their commitment, that, like I said, want to be wowed, want to be wooed, want to be wined and dined. That's what they want. That's what they do. That's what all recruiting is. However, I look at this Rams job, and if there is ever a job for Jim Harbaugh, it's right there. It is exactly there. I mean, you get a primetime location. You get a team where the NFL is going to hand you everything. The NFL they gave the Rams Los Angeles because they wanted to. I mean, the Raiders, look at that. Like, Kroenke does everything the NFL wants. They give him a new stadium. The Raiders, they can't get a new stadium because Al Davis pissed off the higher-ups in the NFL. Look at San Diego. They can't get a new stadium to save the life of them because look at the ownership with the Rams. So you get an owner that's in favor with Roger Goodell and the higher-ups. You get a primetime location in LA. When you were coaching in San Fran, you did pretty well. When you were coaching at Stanford, you did pretty well. Like you said, you get to work with Jared Goff. You get to work with a great defensive unit that to me has been the bright spot to this team this season, especially early on in that season. And then you get Todd Gurley, who's could be one of the better running backs in the league. So there are definitely bright spots to taking this job. But in the end, I stay at Michigan. I don't even take the interview because, like I said, there's unfinished business. And the way I see it, I'll just go ahead and say it. I've been trying to work my way around not saying that, but fuck it. The way I see it is there will always be an NFL job waiting for you when you're ready. That's not the Cleveland Browns, so you don't have to worry.
Well, let me tell you this. Let's not forget that when Harbaugh and the 49ers ended the marriage that started off so nicely, he didn't want to go to college. He wanted to stay in the NFL. The right position was not open for him in his mind. And let's also remember that 49ers team, as bad as they were, and we remember how bad they were. Oh, they were unbelievably bad. Not Cleveland Browns bad, but unbelievably bad. He turned them around to go 44-19-1, lead them to the NFC title game 3 straight years, and then take them to the Super Bowl. I think that if I'm the Rams, I am making the hardest push for him.
Oh, if you're the Rams, you want him.
Because you are going after a guy that's been in that division before, knows how to coach in that division. Right now, you have to go through the 49ers, who are back in turmoil, and the Arizona Cardinals, who have lost their identity. They have no idea what they're doing week in and week out. And the Seattle Seahawks, who will play very, very well and then poop their pants. So I think that right now may be the right time to come back to the NFL with the Rams.
The reason why I'm saying don't make a hasty decision if you are Jim Harbaugh is, let's be honest, the main reason why this is such an appealing job is LA. LA plays a part of it. It's a great city. It's a great place to live. And then, yes, they do have talent on the defensive side like we talked about, but there are other jobs that could open up that could be also appealing to Jim Harbaugh. One of which that I think should open up this year, but who knows, could open up next year, might never open up, but we don't know, the Cincinnati Bengals. Marvin Lewis cannot make the playoffs and lose, or miss the playoffs and lose, and not get fired. And the reason why I say that is that's a team, you get Andy Dalton, you get A.J. Green, you get a good team there, and you get a coach against your brother twice a year. Not the most appealing, but it's appealing. Don't look at me like that.
I just want to say, what a boring job.
Well, it's compared to LA. Cincinnati's not LA, but it's still a good team.
But I'm not saying that. I think that Jim Harbaugh would feel more accomplished by going to LA and really helping to turn a team around that has not been good in a while.
I got 3 more, so we'll see how you like these.
Okay, well, Cincinnati, boring, out of the question in my mind.
Another one, the Packers. Mike McCarthy could be out of the door this year or next year. I know that could eat you up a little bit for Bears fans out there, seeing Jim Harbaugh in his khakis and his kind of polo with the green on it and the Packer green hat.
Don't see him. Don't see him there.
Might eat you up, but anybody looks at Aaron Rodgers and goes, "Man, I'd like to coach that guy. He's pretty damn good."
In all honesty, I see Jim Harbaugh as more of I'll take on a project type guy.
So
right now, Rams is looking like the top one.
The Texans, if Bill O'Brien goes. You get Brock Osweiler. It's a project. Well, you know how we feel about Brock Osweiler. Cock-a-doodle-doo, Brock the cock. But that could be a project because Brock Osweiler, people like us, me and you, don't really think he's that great. He's overpaid. They're a team that could stumble into a division championship, but if Bill O'Brien gets fired, that could be a project team. How about this one for you? And I know you talked about the NFC West, like, if he takes over the Rams, he can get an easy kind of push to the top with the Cardinals falling down.
I'm not saying easy. I'm saying I went over what each team is at right now.
How about I go with this challenge for you? What if Mike McCoy gets fired? The Chargers. You get Phillip Rivers, you get Melvin Gordon, you get Keenan Allen back, you get a defense that has a star like Joey Bosa on it, and you get a primetime division to say, man, if I could win in that division against that Bronco D, that Chiefs team, and then that up-and-coming Raiders team, that'll really show that I can coach.
Well, okay. Again, Cincinnati, boring. I think that, right now, clearly, if they're saying that it's a very real possibility that he goes to the Rams, clearly maybe he's looking for something different. I think Cincinnati, I feel like it has too much of a feel of Michigan right now. Kind of same location there in the Midwest and stuff like that.
Is that what you're
maybe.
thinking?
I mean, his last head coaching job in the NFL was in the sun.
And his last college coaching job before Michigan, and right before that was in the sun at Stanford.
Yeah, so maybe that has nothing to do with it, but it would for me. How boring to go to Cincinnati.
And then he also coached at San Diego in the college, which was also in the sun.
So Cincinnati, I just don't see that as an appealing job. The Packers, I don't think that's going to open up.
Just because of Aaron Rodgers.
It's just not going to open up. I don't see it. I could see the Texans one because you would have a good defense to work with. You would have a certainly offensive quarterback project. But you have good pieces on offense. Mm-hmm. They just have not come out this year with Brock Osweiler. Completely honest. Lamar Miller's very, very good. You got a good running back. You have a good receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. You have a really good receiver in Will Fuller. We've seen what he can do. Braxton Miller came onto the scene. So I could see that one. And then
the Chargers.
Your final one was the Chargers. Honestly, right now, I think Mike McCoy is safe. Phillip Rivers can't turn the ball over all the time.
And I'm not saying these jobs would be, boom, opening up this year. I'm saying these are jobs that could be, you stay at Michigan for this next season, and then these jobs could open up next year.
I know. I'm just telling you what I think.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to, for the listeners out there, that I'm not saying these jobs are going to open up this season, especially the Packers, because right now it doesn't look like McCarthy will get fired, but we don't know what will happen next year. What I'm saying is I would stay at Michigan because, to me, this Ram job, unless you think you could turn around the Rams, which I don't think the Rams could be turned around, but it could also be because I'm looking at it through the Jeff Fisher eyes. It's like the meme that our good friend, Lions guy, as everyone knows him, but his name's Mike, sent us is, the Rams beat me in the Super Bowl. Here, let me just destroy their franchise. And that's exactly what Jeff Fisher did. He destroyed their franchise. But what are your last thoughts on Jim Harbaugh possibly leaving Michigan to go to the Rams?
Last thoughts on Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan to go to the Rams. If he does it, I completely see why he does it. I see so much opportunity with the Rams for him because he's the right fit. I see it's all about fit with everything, but with coaching for sure. I see him as being the right fit for the Rams. I could totally see him turning that around in a matter of only a couple of years. I mean, it takes some time, but I think Jared Goff, his progression would be much quicker. I think Jared Goff, the reason why he didn't come out as quickly as he did, at least to play, as they didn't allow him to play. Oh, we're waiting. They didn't know what they were doing with him. They had no idea. Mm-hmm. Jim Harbaugh would certainly know what he's doing. He's got a good defense, a really good defense, young defense. But I think ultimately, my opinion, he stays in Michigan. He's not done yet.
Yeah, I think that you got to stay at Michigan only because, like I said, unfinished business. You got to go win that national championship for the kids that you brought in. And when you brought them in, they thought they were going to win that national championship with you, not with some other guy that would come in to replace you if you left. But this is where I want to know what you guys think. You guys listening down below in the comment section. That's actually going to do it for the Primetime Podcast. I know last week I sat here saying, oh, we've got the longest one, and we probably won't have one this long. And then look at that, we're back over an hour. But before I sign off the whole entire ship, we're going to do what we do every single week, and it is time for Swanee's final thoughts.
Well, Ricky, I got to say, I got to give it up for Lamar Action Jackson on winning the Heisman Trophy.
Kid.
And
what a great kid.
You know what I love about it is just, you know, he did that. He had his speech there. He was looking fly. I thought that he had a nice speech. I just think that the guy at 19 years old really carried himself well, and I think that again, Mike saying this morning that there were people hating on what he was wearing, hating on how he did this or did that.
It looked very Louisville Cardinal-y.
He is 19 years old. He stood up there. He looked professional. I think
at least he wore a tie.
I think lay off people. Everyone has something to complain about everything these days. Just be happy for him. He deserved it the most. I'm happy for him. I think that's great. Number 2, Notre Dame quarterback DeShone Kizer saying he's going to go to the NFL draft. Going to be very interested to see where he ends up because he put up some good numbers this year for a losing Notre Dame team. He could have been a lot better, could have had more wins if that defense was, worth anything. But they were not this season, unfortunately. But I thought that was a big story. Notre Dame quarterback DeShone Kizer declaring for the NFL draft. Is he top 5? Is he top 10? Well, we'll get into that when we talk draft coming up here in probably matter of weeks. And
it is coming up.
And then Lamar Action Jackson, again, a huge congratulations to him. The best player in college football, won the Heisman this season.
And with that, I got 2 things to say in response to your final thoughts. Is one, if you guys have not already, I'm putting a link in the description for you guys. You got to check out Lamar Jackson today. He was on the Dan Patrick Show. Sweet, like the thing I loved most about his interview is how polite he was.
And he's humble.
Every single time he addressed one of the Danettes or Dan Patrick, he always said, sir. Always said, sir. And to me, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, at 19 years old, how many kids do you have that actually do that and have that kind of politeness to kind of respect the people who are older than them, even if they don't really know them that well? And then 2, the big announcement I'm going to make, and I'll make it because you were talking about the draft, is this Thursday, check out mostvaluablepodcast.com because I'm going to be dropping my first NFL mock draft for the 2017 season. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to drop my first one.
When do I get to drop my first one?
Whenever you want, man.
It's like dropping a mixtape.
Whenever you want. You could drop a big board. You can drop whatever you want. I'm dropping mine on Thursday.
I may do my little board.
Your little board? Your small board?
I may do the first 5.
The first 5. But let us know down below what you thought of anything we talked about today. Whether you're listening on Blog Talk Radio or YouTube, thank you for checking us out today, tonight, this evening, whenever you're listening to us. Make sure to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.